Welcome to the world of dark Bali. I'm so glad you clicked and tuned in. My name is Ken Kemp, and I have with me today the founder and executive director of Dark Bali. Her name is Delana May. Welcome, Delana.
Hey, Ken. Thanks. Glad to be here.
Hey, we just want to take a couple minutes to just talk about Dark Bali. And I know the mission statement is strengthening and equipping those on the front lines of anti-human trafficking all across Indonesia. That's what you do. And I know you well enough, Delana, to know you love this thing. Can you tell us where that passion came from?
Yeah, I do love this thing. You know, I grew up overseas. My family moved around quite a bit, but the community I lived in the most was an impoverished community in Latin America where there was a lot of gender-based violence. And so I saw trafficking happening. I saw a lot of sexual assaults among my teenage girlfriends. And as I got older and realized there was a name to this thing and realized that this was something that was worth doing something about. And by very weird circumstances, I ended up in Indonesia working with a local anti-trafficking organization and kind of fell into the Dark Bali work. I joke that they made me do it, but it's not really a joke. They really did make me do it. They just saw this niche for a Westerner to be bringing resources from outside into the country, and realizing I had, you know, the passport and the Western connections, but also had the community and the language skills of Indonesia, was able to kind of combine those two. And I love it. So
That's
I keep
right.
doing it.
You've got the language. You've got the language. That is so good. And I know from your mission statement that there are a bunch of things that you guys are doing, and this is just hard, important, good work. You have the audacious goal of seeing slavery abolished. You're building partnerships with people who are engaged in the work, but not necessarily talking to each other, training. And you're going for prevention and the rescue and restoration of trafficked people. And that's really kind of your mission. But how do you guys do it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So anti-trafficking work is huge. You have stuff that's all the way from prevention work, which is even just things like poverty elimination and job creation. And then you have, you know, the work of intervention and law enforcement. Then you have restoration of survivors and, you know, things regarding, you know, legal and justice seeking. And then you have, how do you keep people from getting re-trafficked, and advocacy work. So no organization can do all that. But we really believe that we need to follow the research, and the research shows that to make a big social impact, like abolishing slavery, it actually takes a large community bringing each of their skills together and working together as a coalition. And coalitions don't work unless there's an organization facilitating them. And so Dark Bali is that facilitating organization, bringing all these organizations from across the country together, combining our voices for advocacy, working cases together, which is super important for a country like Indonesia with the island geography, right? What do you do when a victim moves from island to island, and how can you make sure that they have good care? And then really just being able to work the people on the ground, the grassroots people, giving them connections to the government agencies, to international organizations, because our community is mostly grassroots. They're people that are interfacing with victims daily. They really understand trafficking on a deep personal level. Many of them are survivors of trafficking, but they don't have access to the Indonesian government, and they don't have access to, you know, these big international organizations. So we're trying to bridge that gap. And then we're trying to bring data research collection, things like that, that just aren't accessible to the community. So I mean, the long and the short of it is, it's a strategy based on good evidence that if we want to see traffic being eliminated in Indonesia, this is what it's going to take. It's going to take all of us working together. So we're just trying to help make that happen.
Nice. That is so good. And there's so much happening. I know you're in connection with a wide group of people and a growing group of people, because there's such a recognized need for people who are engaged in this to be talking to each other and encouraging each other and learning together. Hey, just give us an idea what's happening now. What's happening these days?
Yeah, great question. So when we first started in Bali, I think my vision maybe was too small. I just thought, oh, we're just going to do this on Bali. And we had like a half dozen little organizations, like, we're all going to work together. And within a few months, we had organizations we heard of in other islands like, hey, what about us? Like, we want to be a part of this too. And so, you know, we kind of expanded our vision and said, this is bigger than Bali. Let's look nationally. And so very quickly, we just started adding more and more and more organizations. And kind of the way that it works is we want to see these regional task forces that are able to focus on what's happening in their local area. So whether it's Bali as an island or maybe a major city like Jakarta, so that these local organizations are really working together for the victims within their city or from the victims from their cities. But we want them connected to one another, because the nature of trafficking is that there's often movement from place to place. And in Indonesia, there's a ton of trafficking that leaves Indonesia, people that get trafficked into other countries, but there's a lot of trafficking that happens within Indonesia from island to island. And so these regional task forces are then connected into a larger national task force. And weirdly enough, COVID was actually helpful in the growth of this national task force, I think, because a lot of people saw their programs slow down. They couldn't, go out and do the things that they were normally doing. There was space for people to look for professional development and kind of more connections within the professional community. And so we saw our coalition double this year, actually, which is insane and super exciting. And we have quarterly Zoom calls. Again, everyone's like, okay, we do Zoom now. And we're used to it, and it's not a big sell. And so we were actually on our most recent quarterly call was last week. And I just run tech at this point. Our program director is Balinese, and she runs the show, and she's fantastic. But I'm, letting people in and out of the Zoom room as they get bumped off or whatever. And there were around 40 to 50 people that showed up from all over the country, all different organizations, there to learn together from a government minister, actually, and to talk about cases and what are the gaps, nationally. And so I'm super excited because it means that we're seeing development locally, but we're also seeing development on a bigger scale nationally. And to see the government even getting involved and like knowing about us a little bit, it means that the grassroots community has a voice that they didn't have 6 years ago. So I'm super excited. I think we're at a really fun part of Dark Bali's growth and development. And I mean, honestly, I can't wait to see what's around the corner for us.
That's so good. There's lots happening now, and there's some exciting things coming up. I know next year is a big, big event. Can you tell us about that?
I will. I'm a little overwhelmed by it, to be honest. The last couple of years, we've attended an Asia regional anti-trafficking conference as a group, which has been awesome. But after each of these conferences, multiple people from the coalition contacted me and they're like, well, it's great that we're doing an Asia region one, but there's never been something like this just for Indonesia. You should do that. And at first I was like, no, that's kind of a big ask. Maybe that's too much, but really felt like, this is what the community says they need. And I trust my community to know what they need. And so I guess this is what we need to do. And so we were able to partner with some awesome foundations and some individuals who saw the vision. And so next July, we're hosting the first ever grassroots focused national Indonesian anti-trafficking gathering. And we're calling it a gathering rather than a conference because it's a lot more than just a brain dump. It's not just, hey, come and get some information. This is come and gather knowledge, but also come and get equipped. So our workshops are super practical, like how to develop a child protection policy. What are, ethical storytelling principles that we need to include in our programming. And then we have stuff that's really about caring for the community. So coming in and talking about burnout, we have some professionals that's their skill set. That's what they talk about. And bringing in trauma counselors for secondary trauma, because a lot of times our caregivers really aren't well taken care of themselves. There's just not the budget for it. There's not the resources for it. So anyway, this conference I think is shaping up to be incredible. Some of the speakers we've got lined up were like dream speakers of mine, and I still can't believe they said yes. So I'm super looking forward to next July where we, obviously pending COVID restrictions being lifted, that we'll all be able to gather together after this pandemic and really focus on what's coming up next. And this time as a more united community with access to people that we didn't have access to before, more information, and really just better self-care as well, so that we can kind of go the distance.
Well, Delana, that is so good. And I know that I've been drawn to this whole exercise and this whole project basically because I believe in what you're doing. And now I'm part of the communication team. And I'm just pleased to be part of this thing because this is such important work. And I have seen it. I've traveled different places around the world and I see this problem. It's terrible. It's so hard. And yet the people who are engaged and who are really seeing change, and it's so powerful. How can people get involved?
I always say that no matter who you are and what your skills are, what your financial situation is, you have something that can be contributed. And a lot of times when people think of volunteers, they're like, oh, I'm not a social worker, I can't do something. But like, you're not either, but you're a Dark Bali volunteer, right? Like, you're helping us. And there are people that are contributing bookkeeping skills and social media skills, like all these different things. And so, I think if you really resonate with the mission of Dark Bali, literally drop me an email and say, hey, this is kind of what I do. Is there a place that we can fit? And there probably is. I also really believe in, obviously, coalitions, right? But that even extends to how we do our fundraising and our support team. We actually pull it together and we say, hey, we have donors that give $10 a month, and that's what they can give. And that's awesome. And then we have donors that give much, much, much more than that a month. But we put all of that together because we can do a whole lot more with it. And so absolutely, we'd love to see more people join our monthly impact team. I actually really love the small monthly donors, because even though maybe the quantity that they give is small, my experience is they're super committed and passionate about it. And they tend to be like amazing advocates for the organization. So sharing on social media is huge. Donating your birthday and saying, hey, give to this cause. We've had people that have done that. There's so many different ways. I think we're only limited by our creativity. So we're looking for people who get excited about this and can drop a line and say, hey, how can I get involved? What does this look like for me? And the answer might be a little different for each person, and we can totally work with that.
And today we are speaking to someone who came to our website and who is actually watching this video. We're so glad that you're here. You can see the ways in which you can click to donate, and you can be part of our team. I know Delana would love to hear from you and interact with you. We have materials that you can use. We'd like you to share it with your friends. And we really are looking for a support team to help us get over the finish line with this big event in Bali next year. Anything else you want to say, Delana?
Just that I am so proud of my community. They are working hard and they do so much with so little. And I am continuously amazed by their perseverance and their dedication to serving survivors and preventing this awful thing from happening to, the people around them. And so I feel like they often aren't really seen, right? And so I want to say they're there, and they're the whole reason that we're even doing this at all. And so, yeah, I think what I would want to leave people with is to say that Dark Bali is one organization, but we're representing a huge community of Indonesian organizations across the country that really don't have any visibility otherwise. So they're the heroes here. They're amazing. And whatever is given to us goes straight to them. That's the whole purpose of our organization, is to strengthen and equip the people on the front lines in Indonesia.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Delana. And thank you for watching the video. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter. We're going to keep you in touch. And I think we'll probably do another one of these videos before long. What do you say, Delana?
I'm in.
All right, let's do it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.